FAKE by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, I've seen some of you out there who are saying that this book's message is buy gold. Well, let me tell you that first of all, you're totally wrong. This is not the message of this book. The real message of this book is stop listening to people who are telling you to do shit that is not in your best interest, and spot people who are showing themselves as expert but in reality don't know shit. And once you spot these people and you stop hearing their advice and following their shitty advice, next step is to start investing your money in shit that will actually bring you more money. Now, gold does not bring more money. You can say that, yeah, I've seen in the news that the price of gold goes up. Yeah, well, the price of gold goes up not because gold is more valuable than it used to be. In fact, the problem is that it's not gold that's going up, it's the dollar that's going down. And since there's more dollars printed every year, this means that there are more dollars in circulation, which means that the overall value of every dollar goes down. So gold doesn't go up. The value of gold stays pretty much the same throughout all history. But since the dollar goes down, it means that the more time goes on, the more dollars it will cost you to buy gold. This means that if you invest all in gold right now, maybe in 100 years, instead of having $20 worth of gold, you might have $120 worth of gold. But that doesn't mean that you'll be $100 richer. It just means that you'll be just as rich, because in 100 years, for example, $120 might be worth $20 today. So Robert doesn't encourage you to buy gold to become rich. In fact, he said very clearly that gold is actually just a safety insurance in case the economy goes shit and the dollars drops in value very quick, and it's just so you don't lose all your fucking money. But what he really teaches here is that you shouldn't put all your money into gold. Most of your money should go into assets, be it real estate, investments, whatever. Things that bring you money and things that do not depreciate and lose value over time, nor things that will cost you more over time than bring you money. The thing is, even if the dollar does fall, if you own buildings, your buildings are still yours, your buildings still have value. So the thing is, your safety insurance is not just buying gold, it's also buying things that will still be yours and have value long term. Now, what it teaches, it's basically separated in 3 parts. Each of these parts could have easily been a different book. In fact, they're very different. They have a very different tone, and they're related but not that much. When it comes to first part is basically a denunciation. It's, hey, these rich people have been making money off your back for all these years. Your dollar is losing value every year, and inflation, all that shit. You're getting poorer and all that shit. So as much as it's maybe interesting to know why people are getting poorer or whatever, I am going to tell you that for myself, I did not enjoy these parts because, specifically for the same reason that I don't watch politics. Basically, I have a very little impact on politics. Therefore, I do not spend time trying to bother about politics because these are things that I cannot change. I cannot change democracy on my own. I cannot change these things, so I prefer focusing on things that I can change. This first section is pretty much the same thing. He says, yeah, rich are ripping up the middle class and all. Yeah, cool to know. Cool to know that these guys are crooks. Cool to know that their scam works, but I can't do anything about it. So, I didn't really enjoy this section. Now, sections 2 and 3 were much more useful and things that I really can act upon, so I had a very much more enjoyable experience with those. Now, section 2 is pretty much I'd say the strongest part of the book. Section 2 is about fake teachers. It's about the education system and how the education system is set up. You probably already know this deep down in your heart. You probably feel it's true and probably have thought of that, but this book really shows you how the education system is set up and is controlled by rich people so that you are a working class person for the rest of your life. They're basically grooming you to be competent enough to work for them, but they do not give you the tools to be independent, and they do not give you the tools to start your own business, to start and be rich. They only give you enough tools to actually be competent as working class employees, and the financial advice and education that they give you in school is basically advice that will keep you in poor and middle class. This book makes a very strong case about it, and the really most actionable parts in this section is that he gives you a list of traits that you can check to see if teachers that teach you actually know what they're talking about and actually are legit. Because, you know, many teachers in school, they teach you, they say, yeah, I know accounting. Okay, but have you ever done accounting? No, I have learned accounting from books written by people who have probably never done accounting, but just studied accounting from books. You know, who do you think is better to teach you how to build a business? Someone who has studied people who make businesses, or a multi-millionaire who has built tons of businesses? You know, if you had the choice, do you think it makes sense trying to learn how to be rich, learning from people who are not rich? No. So basically, this section is about noticing that most of your mentors or mentors you've had actually probably didn't know what they were talking about. Because if they were really good, they'd probably be rich, right? Provided you were learning business. So section number 3 is a general overview on how to invest your money. I've already talked about it pretty much in my intro, but let me just say that this section pretty much summarizes most of what you'll find in Rich Dad Poor Dad book number 1. Most of what you learned in Rich Dad Poor Dad book number 1 will be in here, the practical stuff. I will say this book, for those who wonder, the relationship between this book and the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, this book is pretty much a standalone. You don't need prior knowledge from the Rich Dad series, and this book really doesn't add up a ton for the Rich Dad series. This is not a how-to book. There's there are some tips on how to invest in this book, but this is not a book on how to invest. This is more a book on why you should invest and what should be your mindset when it comes to investing, when it comes to spending your money, when it comes to whose advice you should listen. So there comes a problem with that actually, which is that obviously, with this book alone, you will not become competent enough to start investing on your own. So the obvious conclusion you'll probably have when you finish this book is that, wow, I probably need to buy the Rich Dad Poor Dad series. Which is kind of unfortunate. This book is really not that useful. It's just very interesting, and unless you want motivation for stopping school or starting investing, I don't really see why you should get it, to be honest. And other nitpick I have with it is that its vibe is very heavy, you know, especially in the first section. Basically, the first section tells you, hey, these guys are crooks, these guys are ripping people off, these guys are making money off of you, you'll be poor soon, sooner you'll have no money and all that shit. And you know, it's very heavy to read. I don't know how I could make it better, to be honest. It's not because of the author or anything. It's really the subject matter that is just very heavy and not fun to read about. The other sections are a lot better, but still, it's not as fun to read as Rich Dad Poor Dad, which really radiates a vibe of optimism. Now, the good thing is that I learned a lot in this book. It opened my eyes to a lot of concepts and strategies on getting rich that I didn't know about. Infinite return and you know, making money with only debt and investing when you have no money. And you know, it doesn't go in depth in these strategies, but it's so fucking damn interesting, and really gets me excited about the idea of getting more books in the Rich Dad series. You know, I only read the first one, so I only have the basics of accounting and all that shit, but seeing these strategies, it really looks promising, you know. Secondly, I'd say I really need to congratulate Robert Kiyosaki on making complex topics seem simple. Really, most of what is taught in here is actually very complicated, and he really does a good job explaining it very simple. Many sections in this book are actually translations from magazines and other books talking about the topics, and oftentimes I don't even understand what's written in the original copy, and I only understand the message because Robert makes his translation right under in common vocabulary, and just being able to turn all that shit into common vocabulary is something I really need to congratulate, because I really didn't get it otherwise. Now, conclusion, if you want to know why you should invest, why school is probably not the best way to go for your education, this is probably one of the best books out there I found to explain that, to give you the motivation. Now, however, if you already have the motivation, I would probably skip this book because it doesn't have much when it comes to the how-to. It's probably not as good as Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you had to choose, go with Rich Dad Poor Dad, to be honest. Not to say that this is a bad book, just say that you probably will not get much out of it unless you want to know how to recognize good teachers from fake teachers. With that said, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to get this book, links are in the description down below. And if you have any books you want me to review or any questions you have regarding this book, regarding online learning, or if you have an online course you want me to review, just write them in the comments down below. I'll be very happy to take a look. With that said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you soon.